And two major shakeups in the cable news world today. Fox News announcing primetime host Tucker Carlson is departing the network. Carlson had been with Fox News since 2009, hosting one of the network's highest rated shows, with the last one airing last Friday. But not long after that announcement, CNN saying it had parted ways with Don Lemon. The network says he'll always be a part of the CNN family, thanked him for his 17 years with the network. Let's bring in NewsNation media contributor Colby Hall. Colby, let's talk Tucker Carlson first. Or could his exit have anything to do with some pretty major news that happened last week, this recent settlement with Dominion? I mean, more than $750 million. So is this maybe another condition possibly of that settlement?
I don't think it's directly related to that. I mean, I don't believe that Dominion put in as a sort of, I don't think it's causal. I think it may be corollary in that what I think most likely came out is in the discovery, there was all this testimony and they pulled all these texts and emails, much of which was redacted. My understanding is that a lot of the stuff that was redacted paint Tucker Carlson and his show's production office as being a pretty toxic work environment. Enter the former producer booker for both Tucker Carlson and Maria Bartiromo, Abby Grossberg. She made similar allegations that some really derogatory and sexist terms were thrown around, perhaps as a joke, but still thrown around. And I think that during the last month of the defamation trial before they settled, Tucker Carlson sort of flouted what Fox wanted, meaning they were sort of under trial for being false and misleading. And at that time, he was kind of thumbing his nose at the network and the legal direction by doing things, saying that like the Jan 6 footage shows that it wasn't that bad. And so right when they were kind of under trial for telling the truth, he wasn't. And as a result, he lost a lot of support. And I think over the weekend, they decided to pull the trigger, and he found out Monday this morning, and he was reportedly very shocked. He was not expecting this at all.
Well, I certainly know viewers were shocked. So let's switch gears now. Let's talk about Don Lemon. You know, when you're speaking about Tucker Carlson, you talked about a toxic environment in some cases. Don Lemon certainly drew plenty of backlash earlier this year, just a few months ago. His comments about women in their prime. When he was referring to Nikki Haley. He also clashed with his fellow morning anchors on multiple occasions. Are you surprised that he was ultimately terminated, as Don Lemon himself puts it?
I'm not sure I'm surprised. I was surprised when I found out live on air that he had been let go. I think that his future, he was on thin ice. And not necessarily, there was some sort of opposition research that had been dug up going way back that I didn't really believe. But the stuff that he said on air, I know a lot of people that knew him personally and really liked him, a lot of women in particular that heard what he said that was about how women are past their prime once they reach 50, that were really, that forever could never forgive him for that. And again, that's a target audience for morning shows. And so if you're going to say that, it's really hard to win. It's hard to win an audience in general.
Right.
But when you insult a significant part of the target demographic, makes it even harder. And
you're sitting next to two women on the anchor desk, as he was. Colby, really quickly, is there any connection here? Because it does seem like quite a coincidence that both of these major names at two major networks are gone on the very same day, essentially within hours of each other.
I think it's largely a coincidence. I think maybe CNN had this maybe in the works, and when they saw that news, maybe they could tuck this in and kind of bury the news. But I think what it really speaks to is that cable news is maybe trying to swing back into a more moderate kind of fact-based coverage.
That.
Well, how about that? Someone's way ahead of the curve right there.
All right, Colby Hall, we certainly appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.